Okay, so good morning everyone. This is TOU045 Legal Aspects of Tourism and Hospitality, and welcome to the series of lectures for this class. For today, we're going to talk about introduction to law on tourism and hospitality. So we need to define law first. Law is a system of rules by Collins, and per Webster, law is a rule of conduct or action prescribed. There are characteristics of law. Number one is rule of human conduct, wherein the law regulates on how we interact with each other. Number two, just and obligatory. So what do we mean by just? Just is fairness to all. Number three, promulgated by competent authority, meaning laws can be created and enforced only by competent authorities. Number four, it must be observed by all. So pretty much self-explanatory, we all abide by the law. According to purpose, substantive law creates, defines, and regulates. So, for example, the law on obligations and contracts, in which it defines what is a contract, and it also regulates on how do we enforce contracts. Adjective law determines the process of obtaining law. For example, if your right was violated, adjective law will define how will you obtain law or paano ka makakakuha ng hustisya. According to scope, public law applies to all of the state with equal force and obligations. Private law affects a particular group of individuals. So, for example, an example of a private law is the maritime law, and also the passengers' rights for air travel. That's one private law. Public law public law covers criminal law, penal laws, ganun siya. So a question that is not within your modules is a corporation a person? So yes, under the section 2 of the Corporation Code, the Securities and Exchange Commission, a corporation is a juridical entity, meaning that the law recognizes a corporation as a person. So this means that people can actually sue the corporation itself, not by its individual members. So next is the Constitution. Constitution is the basic and paramount law to which all other laws must conform. So currently we have the 1987 Constitution, and what the definition means is that all laws that are signed by the President must conform to the Constitution, meaning they must be reviewed before it is enacted into law. So titignan nila kung may against sa Constitution or wala. It will be double-checked by legislative, the juridical, the judicial, and the administrative. Treaty is an agreement between two or more independent nations. So, an example in the module is the extradition treaty, wherein if a U.S. criminal is hiding in the Philippines and he was caught by Philippine authorities, the U.S. can actually request the Philippine government to extradite him or send him back to the U.S. for prosecution. That is the meaning of extradition treaty. Next is jurisprudence. Final decisions of Supreme Courts can be a basis of an existing cases in court. So if no laws can be enacted or can be a basis of the decisions of the Supreme Court, they will look into the final decisions of previous cases. Okay, so what if there are no decisions yet to be made by the Supreme Courts? The Philippine courts will actually look for jurisprudence abroad if that particular case was already handled by the courts abroad, and they will use the decisions of the courts abroad as their final decisions here in the Philippines. So, customs and traditions as a basis of law. So yes, tribal laws are honored in courts as long as a competent person will back the law. For example, a tribal chief or yung mga chief ng mga or yung mga heads uh, of our indigenous people. National territory. Article 1, Section 1 of the 1987 Constitution defines our national territory. That is a reading assignment. So, to sum up, our national territory comprises of Philippine Archipelago, all the islands and waters embraced therein, and all other territories over which the Philippines has sovereignty and jurisdiction. That is the definition of our national territory. So we have the domains of the Philippine territorial jurisdiction. There are only just three, madali lang siyang tandaan. Air, land, and sea. Aerial, terrestrial, fluvial. So of course we have the three branches of the government. We have administrative, wherein it comprises the President of the Philippines and all its cabinet members. The legislative, which comprises of the Congress and the Senate. The judicial comprises the courts and the justices. So we have inherent powers of the state. Ito yung kayang i-enforce ng state sa atin. Number one is police power. As defined an imposition or restraint upon liberty, liberty meaning your freedom, or property, or your personal belongings, and in order to foster the common good. Next is the power of eminent domain, as defined the acquisition of private property with just compensation. The key word on this is private property with just compensation. So the state cannot just acquire a private property, for example, my own land, without the government actually paying me the right market value for my land. That is what just compensation means. Taxation power, of course, the power of the government to collect taxes. Now we have the search warrant versus the warrant of arrest. Search warrant, an order in writing issued by the courts to search a private property for a personal property. So the subject of the search warrant is your personal property, your belongings. Warrant of arrest, on the other hand, is an order in writing issued by the courts directed to peace officers describing the person to be arrested. So ito na yun, yung huliin ka na talaga, yung person talaga yung gusto ng court. So there are instances where a search and seizure can be made without a warrant. So number one, a waiver of rights. So when a peace officer asks you, ma'am, pwede ba ako mag-search sa bahay mo? And sinabi mo, oo, that is actually the waiver of rights. Incident to a lawful arrest. So if a person was arrested by the peace officers and they found something, no, na illegal, that is an instance where a warrant, there's an instance where a seizure or a search can be made without a warrant. Contraband or forfeited goods being transported by ship, automobile, or other vehicle, meaning that the persons in authority has full knowledge that a contraband is present in your vehicle. Next, of course, is if a contraband or a dangerous good can be seen in plain view. Those are the instances where a search and seizure can be made without a warrant. Next is actually the incidental to inspection, supervision, and regulation. When, for example, authorities are inspecting businesses and they found something, so that is an instance. Okay. Routine searches by border and customs and immigration officers. Pretty much self-explanatory. Before you enter a new territory or a new country, and if customs and immigrations have suspicion in you, they can actually pull you aside and search you. So yun siya. Next is instances naman where an arrest can be made without a warrant. So there are only three things in this scenario. Number one, when the offense is committed, actually committing or attempting to commit in the presence of a police officer or a peace officer. Number two, when the offense has in fact just committed and the peace officer or the police ninyo has personal knowledge of the facts, alam niya na may nangyaring offense. Of course, lastly, is a prisoner who just escaped. Next, we move on to citizenship. Citizenship, as defined, is the membership in a political community, which is more or less a permanent in nature. So here are the modes of acquired citizenship. Jus sanguinis is a citizenship acquired by blood relationship. So for example, a Filipina gave birth in Dubai. Her child is still a Filipino citizen. Jus soli, citizenship acquired by determining place of birth. So for example, a Filipina gave birth in the United States. Her child is still a Filipino citizen, but the United States will recognize her child to be an American citizen. The next question is, do just solely enforceable to all countries? No. Kasi merong separate rules ang mga countries with regarding the addresses if an alien gave birth to their territory. Naturalization is a citizenship acquired by administrative or juridical process where the state will adopt the alien and will endow him or her citizenship. So for example, a natural-born American applied for citizenship in the Philippines. Ayun siya. So, the modules also talk about your Bill of Rights. So I want you to read those and understand them completely. The definitions are there, and it is actually well defined in the modules. So this ends our introduction for today. Thank you and good morning.